So, blog posts. How many of you have a blog? How many of your clients have blogs? Okay. How many of you optimize your clients' blogs? Okay, we've got a few. If your client has a blog, they should have a content strategy, which says, to attract this kind of audience, we're going to write about this kind of thing. Now, if they don't have a strategy and they're just winging it every time, then I don't know how they're going to be, that they know they're drawing the right audience. What we do is we create a strategy for a blog that says, to attract, so Back-Based Shutter Company is one of our clients, and we help them with content strategy. We determine these are the 5 categories of content they're going to write about, and when their writer writes the blog, then we optimize it on keywords, and we post it, so that, immediately it's starting to churn results in the search, and it drives traffic back based on that content. Tweets. When I'm coming to an event like this, when I post a blog, when I see an article on Mashable I like, which is a website you should all read, mashable.com, I post those on Twitter. Sometimes I post them on LinkedIn, and then they get distributed to Twitter and Facebook so that I just post them in one place, and this is a content channel thing we're going to talk about. But basically, the idea is that the more you're out there in front of people, distributing information, helpful information, you're not selling to anyone, you're just showing your expertise. People will see that came from you. If they retweet it, you get credited for a retweet on an article you published, you didn't write, you just reposted it. So there's tons of ways to draw links back to yourself without actually even writing an ounce of content, by reading 3 authorities on search engine marketing and posting articles on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and you're actually creating links back to yourself. Social bookmarking. Do any of you have a social bookmarking account? Okay, one person. I'm telling you, this is an amazing opportunity. Delicious.com. Every time you see an article you like, you go to your Delicious account and you post a link to it. Now, Jill has a lot of, Jill, you didn't raise your hand, but you have a lot of, your articles have been bookmarked. And what happens is, if somebody thinks that an article that Jill wrote is interesting and they bookmark it, the more bookmarks she gets, the more relevance that article gets in search. So if you go and submit articles, blog posts from your own blog, from your client's blog onto the social bookmarking site, other people will see it. Oh, and you tag it. In the social bookmarking site, you actually tag it so that when people search in Delicious, they find it and they find out how many people have bookmarked it. And if somebody has bookmarked it 1,000 times, it says to you, wow, 1,000 people like this article, right? So one of the things you have to be careful of is not just going and submitting over and over again your client's pages. It really needs to be fresh, generated content like a blog post or an article versus, the About Us page on someone's website is not what your social bookmarking, okay? So optimizing social assets. We call it social properties because I want you to think about it that way. I want you to think about the cereal boxes on the shelf. I want you to think that YouTube, your blog, LinkedIn, Facebook, Delicious, all of these are like your summer house, your ski house. Okay, think about it any way you want, but the bottom line is the more places you are, the more results you're going to show up in. And if those places, those properties, use the keywords that you're trying to attract, and I'm going to show you examples of how you can show up on the home page for your brand 6 times instead of once, because you've got a Facebook account that has the keywords in it, and a LinkedIn page. And LinkedIn has come a long way in the last couple of weeks, I'm telling you. I don't know how many of you have seen the changes with LinkedIn. You can now, the company pages have opened up, it's in beta right now, but basically you can put a lot more content, a lot more information on a company page, and you know, you can optimize it. So like, who needs a website anymore? You know, just set up Facebook and LinkedIn and you're all set. I mean, it's powerful. But the reason we need a website is because the more pages we have, right? More chance we have of getting on the homepage. So listen, learn, and then optimize. Understand what's going on out there before we kind of just look at the data. Because it's not just about, so I was just explaining to someone else that SEO is almost like the quantitative, and I don't know if this is the right exact analogy. We're kind of on the creative side, whereas SEO does a lot of, you know, looks at the data in a lot of ways. And, you know, how many times is that keyword used and what does it weigh? Well, you know, there's a collaboration between the two, the yin and yang of content. And I think what's really important is you look at sentiment. And what we talk about as sentiment is, well, there was an article that mentioned your brand, but it was somebody who was really pissed at your brand. And the distinction between we love Nike and we hate Nike, you know, in the stats might not be very clear. But if you actually read the context of it, was that going to help your brand or not? You know, so it's about the quality of the content and how do you, you know, how do you build that kind of quality content versus just any content. There are social media tracking tools and analytics. So everybody here knows Google Analytics, right? Well, we use Google Analytics, but we also use a monitoring tool called Jive. The big player in the industry is Radian6. Does anyone use that? Okay. They're an agency tool that's really, you know, I don't know if they're still $500 a client a month, something like that. The tool we use is $1,000 a year. And I can put in as many clients, keywords, and brands as I want, and track everything that's published on them, and not just what's published, but from what source. Like they're coded. These are all Twitter, these are all blogs, these are all, yes, John?
What tool is that?
It's called Jive. I'm sorry, I did not say that. Jive. J-I-V-E. And we actually did a lot of benchmarking a year ago, and there's so many tools out there, and you know, there's a flavor for everyone. We like Jive because of the ability to kind of organize the content. And I have an intern who goes into that tool every day and finds opportunities for our clients. And we get paid on a monthly basis. This is the recurring revenue stream that we all look for. We send them an email with links to things that they post on their Facebook page and suggested blog topics based on their editorial calendar. So they pay us every month to help them generate content through that tool. And it also helps us to get a sense of what's the sentiment on a brand. And you also can see what words people are using, what are the keywords. Now, there's definitely Google Analytics that tells you like the statistical. Again, we're looking more at the quality when we do this sometimes, but both are really important. And you want to be able to distinguish who's coming to your site, and it's not hard to do this from Google Analytics. Who's coming to your site from a natural search, right? But I'll give you an example. William Ravis Real Estate. My mother's a real estate agent for William Ravis Real Estate. She's in the back in pink. And she went up to Bill Ravis a year and a half ago, and she said, Bill, my daughter is a social media consultant. He had no idea what she was saying. And she went and told him this like 3 times until finally he kind of, you know, said, come and talk to me, and said, what is this? And I told him, and he said, so this is PR on steroids. And I said, yeah, that's actually what it is. It's getting the word out, but it's getting the word out in different channels than you were before. So let me talk about what we did for them. I can talk about the whole campaign if you want to hear, but one of the things we did besides set up the properties is to get every real estate agent in that company, 2,000 agents. We taught them how to set up LinkedIn pages and Facebook pages. We did train the trainer programs. We also created a network of social media consultants. My mother's actually one, for every office of the 67 offices, in which an agent can go up to my mother in her office and say, can you help me with this Facebook thing? And what happened now, they have over 6,000 fans on their Ravis page, but they all have their own pages. Do you know how many properties that is that say William Ravis on it? And then, imagine if they all have LinkedIn pages that say they work for William Ravis, and imagine some of them are writing blogs, and some of them have, and I would say there's a pretty good handful and growing, they go to the William Ravis blog every week, every time there's a post, and retweet it. So they're pushing out the blog content to their audience on their Facebook page, either by a feed, an automatic feed, or by clicking the retweet button. And they're basically distributing content. All they're doing is clicking the retweet button. And they're spreading the news about William Ravis Real Estate to their audience, their constituents. Now imagine in any kind of business that has multiple locations. So let's talk about Starbucks. Now Starbucks is brilliant at social media. When they put a Starbucks in, and any chain like that, they don't put two Starbucks next to each other. They don't want the businesses to compete. So essentially, you may go to a couple different Starbucks, but most people go to the same one. Most people don't go to multiple Starbucks. Now imagine if we created incentives. So these are location-based, right? Incentives for you to become a fan and then get a coupon every time you go to Starbucks. And you go to Starbucks and you click on your phone and you say, on Facebook or on Foursquare, and say, I'm here. And it counts up how many times, and it gives you a coupon for a free latte. I could really use that, because I'm spending a lot of money on lattes lately, and I really need them to do this. But basically, you can get deals on, Facebook has just instituted a thing called Deals, where business pages can actually set up free deals for their fans, and you can create, offers just for visiting the store. And an easy way to say, I'm here, I checked in 5 times this week, what do I get? And by building that fan base and keeping in touch on a location-specific, rather than having one brand site, one Starbucks brand site, which they do, actually, that's how they do it. Imagine you have your local Starbucks Facebook site, and you're connected to it because you know the baristas, and you know the people at the counter, and their faces are there. And it's your extension of the physical place. And then these people are location-based, and they get rewards for that. And think of the operator, and she said, right, everybody's connected. And I have, 300 friends. I can't really say they're all friends on Facebook, but they're people I've met or know. But so many of them are in my community. And we all go to the same restaurants. And when we heard recently that one of our favorite restaurants, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, Jill, because you'll never go there again, they found a beetle in their, a bug in their pasta. And, told everybody on Facebook. Do you know what impact it had on that restaurant? That's the impact of social media. The good stuff and the bad stuff.